I am Courtney, a mom of 5, Psych NP student, just moved to the beautiful state of Utah. And I just love growth and truth. And that's where we're at with this. Guys, welcome to the Dirty Scrubs podcast. All right. I'm so happy all of you guys are here. So the point of this is just to bring the rawness of life together with real feelings that hopefully challenge us to change. And I love all of these amazing people here. So Dre, awesome fitness enthusiast, badass ER trauma nurse, being my favorite Michigander. Is that how you say it?
That's me.
Michigander, dog mama, and the newlywed Bri, who we love. Miss all your hugs and smiles. Okay. So this is kind of where I want to start off with. What prompted you to even ask this question in the first place?
All right. Without revealing this question I'm going to let the big reveal be saved for you. I honestly don't know. It's just something my dad and I always kind of mess around about. And I said it at work one day and someone answered, and, oh, what are you guys talking about? Well, I want to give my input. And then next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. on night shift and half the ER is involved. So
yes.
it is a very thought-provoking, and man, people get passionate about it. They want, and there's no answer. So with that's my cliffhanger.
Your Facebook was blowing up.
Yeah.
Man, I thought I was giving a cool little response. This is great. I'm loving this. People were in it though. They were
they were
completely dedicated to their responses. So
passion, man.
Yes. So the original question that you asked was, are leaders born or are leaders made? And what is your initial, you were pretty strong on your point and your thoughts behind it. So where do you stand on that?
After listening to dozens upon dozens of people, I'm still the same. And I get a lot of heat. I get a lot of heat, but they're born.
They're
cutting
born.
it off. They're born. Dre's gonna disagree. They're born. Sorry.
Bri, what do you got?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great question, especially with us being in the military, because we do get to see a lot of these leaders who are put in these positions where, if you're born a leader, it makes it a lot easier. And then you can kind of tell people who aren't as strong leaders who are just trying to get by. But initially, the very first time I saw the post, I was like, yeah, leaders are born 100%. I think that's something that, you always have throughout your life. But I kind of looked up some stuff. And so I don't know, I'm on the fence. I'm starting to feel more like leaders are made, just because, I mean, when someone's born, you don't just look at that baby and you say, oh, that baby's the leader right there. I think a lot of, I think
he was born that way. Okay. She was born that way.
I think a lot of how someone grows up and their environment, their morals, all that, I think contributes to that person becoming a great leader as they grow up.
Okay, so, listen, I agree, because I know Dre's going to chime in and destroy me.
Wait for it.
She's going to destroy my argument. I agree. Okay. Right. But I personally think that there's a set of attributes and characteristics that a leader, it's down in your DNA that of course you can build upon it. You can build a stronger vocabulary.
What's an attribute that you would say you're born with that you can't build?
Grit, man.
Grit. Okay.
I don't think you can teach it.
Okay.
Or somebody had said being really empathetic. I mean, I don't think you can teach somebody to be empathetic.
Oh,
I think you can teach somebody what you said hurt someone's feelings, but that does not mean they're empathetic to it. But anyway, okay, Dre's turn. She's gonna destroy me. Here we go.
I like it. Dre, what do you got?
Hands down, leaders are created. And my argument is, I actually agree with you. I think that you are born with certain characteristics. For instance, if you are more favored to being a prettier person, great looks, great hair. One of the doctors said this yesterday. He was like, if you are born with certain characteristics, people are naturally going to, because of your appearance, because of your attractiveness, they will naturally kind of come to you. Then you open your mouth and it's like, ugh.
No, I agree with that.
That's not really that's not, she shouldn't have said that, or he shouldn't have said that. Man, he's so cute, but he shouldn't have said that, you know? But I think that I take the athletic aspect of it that I've seen, and seen several kids who have came out from bad backgrounds, poor backgrounds, social history is not well, and they grow into these fantastic leaders, or they get into a position where they have to lead, or out of the blue, they're the last kid that you think on the team that's going to be there cheering and motivating everybody on. And you're like,
But
wow.
does somebody teach that, Dre? Is somebody like coaching that into them?
You have
You're
to have
saying
good
that they just like
mentors.
step up to the plate. That's
Yeah.
not what you're saying.
You have to have good mentors. You have to have good coaching. I mean, leadership is something that you have to study. Otherwise, Vasek, you wouldn't read all those books, but you're a fantastic leader.
Let's back up a little bit. Why is this topic important? Like, why does this matter? And somebody like in the military, it's a really big thing. And I completely get that. And I worked with the military, and it completely changed my views, honestly, of the military for that reason alone, right? Like, very often people are put in positions where like they're not good for that position, but because it's like a leadership role and they're just like the next one, they fill it, right? And I know you guys live this day in and day out. But why does this matter for like everybody in everyday life? Why is it important to know who leaders are, and if you can make them, or if they're born?
Well, as a military member, we're forced into leadership positions all the time, whether, I mean, you put rank on and it's like your turn. So I think that recognizing if you are a natural born leader or not, you need to know how to lead people, because you're going to be put into that position. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'd like to be good at it.
You're amazing at it.
Yeah.
I think that it's important, because it's important to take what's unique about a person and leverage it and align it with anything align it with what you need to create success, and then leave a mark. And that's what everybody wants to do, is leave a mark, be known for something. So I think that's important for that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you describe as a leader? Like, what is a leader in your mind?
I want to hear Bri's answer, because she changed. You switched it up after talking to everybody.
I know. I mean, I think it's very, very important for people to want to grow other people, to make them a good leader. A lot of mentorship, and not only thinking of themselves and being like, oh, I'm in this spot, like I'm in charge, but actually, trying to grow their people, be a little humble and know that there's always room for growth on their end is very important. And, leading from the front, not just sitting back and saying, hey, all you guys do this. And I'm just going to stand here. It's kind of funny. When me and Kristen were on our honeymoon, we got stuck on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and we were sitting there for like maybe,
dude, I'd be freaking out.
30 or 45 minutes. Yeah, it was crazy.
No.
All the lights turned on. So a couple of the cast members came out, and one of their managers came out, and he was like, all right, put on those waders and get in the water and start pushing the boats backwards. And the guy in front of us, one of the husband, he was sitting there, and he's like, are you serious? You're going to sit there and tell them to get into the water, and you're not even going to get in. And he just went off on him.
He called him out.
Oh yeah. And it's crazy, but I mean, it's very true. Like, she came out, and then he was like, nope, put the waders back on and get back in the water and start pushing the boats. And
wow.
so, yeah, a lot of people were calling him out to, no, you put him on and get in. Like, if you're going to be in charge, you should, be doing this. So that was kind of an example of, leading from the front. And, again, seeing it in the military a lot, but it's also on the civilian side. And, with any company, you're always going to have good leaders and bad leaders who are trying to help their people grow. So
growth is a part of it, and leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who has a mindset of growth.
For sure.
And then leading by example. All right. I like it. V?
Tell me your question one more time.
Well, I was just like breaking down what a leader is. Because what if we all have different ideas of what a leader is? Like, is a leader somebody, I feel like, I will preface with this, and we've talked a lot about this. I feel like leaders are called leaders. For me, I feel like that word is thrown around. Okay. And the louder that you are, the more aggressive that you are. Maybe this is like my ER background, is like you get the spot, man. You get the charge nurse position. You get whatever it is. You get in triage, you get in rover, whatever, right? You get in these positions because you're loud and you like get things done aggressively. So like stuff may get done, right? Like let's go back to those perfect trauma nurses, right? They get the job done. Okay. But would you consider that person a leader just because they get the job done? Whoever that person is.
No, yeah, no, I would not. Of course. I mean, because you can be like Bree said, that guy got the job done, but he's
That's
a
true.
horrible leader.
That's a good point.
And it's hard because my definition clearly is different than all three of you. And there is no perfect description of what a good leader is. I mean, I think a good leader is somebody who is able to get their teammates to work toward a common goal.
Okay.
But also there's mutual respect involved. And you truly know that your leader cares about you. One thing that was a common theme and everybody who wanted to chime in was, I want my leader to actually care about me, because a boss can show up, doesn't care about you, job gets done, go home, get your paycheck. But a leader, like for example, there was always somebody who had stuck out to me as being a really strong leader. And one of the things I distinctly remember about them was they were always the first one there, the last one to leave. And they would always go around, and if they saw trash on the ground, we were all walking this way, they'd go that way, pick up the trash, come back, join the group. They don't have to do that. But I think it's the integrity that they have as somebody who's just naturally, and that's something I view as a good leader. You guys may see that and be like, what the heck are they doing?
No, that's a good point, because one of the things, when I think of you, one of the things that describes you to me is excellence. Like you have a high drive for excellence. All of you guys do, right? And that's one of the reasons that I'm honestly incredibly humbled that we're even friends. Like you guys all have this drive, right? And that is something I see in you a lot, V, is this, just this like excellence, you know? If you don't hit that, then you're kind of falling short, you know? There's still grace for that. But I think that that's a lot of where your thought process behind leadership comes from.
Yeah, I think you're right. For me, like I'm big time on a good leader is really somebody who pays attention to the detail. And I just think it matters. It means that to me, it shows me that you put a lot of time and effort and that you care because you paid attention to the small things.
Okay. And one of the things you're saying is that you can't teach that, that compassion to have that interpersonal relationship. Is that kind of where your stance is on the being born thing? Like, can you teach somebody to care about people?
Yeah, there's certain attributes that I think you are born with that you can build upon, but just a natural born leader, I just really think you either got it or you don't. But that's
so
me.
Interesting,
I mean,
man.
You guys
I'm on the
disagree.
fence with it. I feel like it's both. Like it's such a dichotomy for me. I think it's both. But then I think like, okay, well, if you can teach it, is that deep down inside anyway? Are you just drawing out what's already in their DNA? You know, kind of like what you're saying.
Well, I think that's what Dre was saying with the whole looking at student athletes and having a good coach or mentor. Like maybe, you know, Dre, maybe you can touch on that a little bit too. Do you see that there's, especially, I think it's interesting when looking at younger athletes, because as an adult, you're sort of, I don't know, you're kind of like where you're at. You can fine tune it a little bit, but you're either good or you're bad. I mean, you can work on things small, but as a younger, in youth sports particularly, because I was a youth volleyball coach for a long time, I do see the ones who stand out and you're like, man, that one, I just see it. But you had different experience, Dre, where you said there's the underdog and you saw them rise to the top if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the kids who grew up like in maybe not such a enriched neighborhood where they have access to the top of the line equipment, the top of the line gyms, you know, they don't have brand new cleats every season. Those are the kids that are literally go and give 110%, and they lead their team and they're passionate about it. And sometimes passion, like we talked about last time, passion looks like anger to the unmotivated. but those are the kids that will come out of this dark hole that they have at home, and they're playing that sport for a reason. They're playing that sport because they can emulate something within that sport from their coaches. They can emulate their coaches on how their coaches respond to them and how their coaches teach them. Because, and I also believe, I mean, modest because my son plays football, but football players in general, like the amount of time and work that it puts to go in there and physically like get aggressive and hit somebody. I mean, the mentality that those kids have, the adversity that they play against is tough. And not all kids make it through that. But the ones that do are either have strong mentors, they've played football for a long time, or they've had a coach or something that has sparked that in them. So I don't think all kids have it, but I think the kids that surprise me that have it, and I'm like, wow, like I can't even imagine. Like, okay, for instance, we have a kiddo who just lost his mom recently. He's 16, and I would think that like it was a sudden death. So I would think that like he would not be, he's a quiet kid. Right now he's still participating in football, and he is just like, I mean, he's got the best spirit. And I'm just like, that's like, is that a leadership quality, to have the best spirit, to be able to motivate people, to be able to keep the light shining, even though his light is probably dark at home? Like, yeah, it is. But did it take this to happen? Because before, I just kind of saw him as a quiet kid. Now I see a different person. And if you think about, if I think about some of the great leaders that or books that I've read by these authors, they always have a story, something that puts them in that realm to pull that out of them. Like they always have a story or a mentor or something that they've learned.
Interesting.
And they become these motivational people, leaders, whatever. So
yeah, I like that. I think I would probably agree with that too. Huge life, whatever it is, circumstance or change or something. V, you had a really good follow-up question for this when we initially talked about it. Do you remember what that was?
If it's the one I think you're going to ask, it's, do bad leaders know they're bad?
Okay, I like it. That's good.
I
And we don't have to answer these. We can leave them. We can leave them open-ended. But I mean, I think self-awareness, right? Like, which really, honestly, and Dre, you shared this video of Kobe, right? Like, I don't know that leaders are intentionally, maybe this is like personality, but they're not intentionally like, I'm going to go inspire somebody today, right? I don't know that it's like a thought like that, or if it's just like, I'm going to be the best that I can be, do the most internal work, the most internal growth that I can have. And people watch that, right? And people start following that. That's exactly what that video was, Dre, that you sent. Like, people are watching, but Kobe wasn't doing anything else with anybody else. He was working on himself. So I think that's interesting. And I don't know, I would guess, we can leave that open-ended. Hopefully people chime in and kind of what they think about that.
I think you just made a really solid point though, to tie in what we've all been saying, is that I agree with Dre, but I think we're saying the same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
That you have there's something intrinsic that cannot be taught. And maybe you need something traumatic to happen to you to bring it out. But I totally agree with what you just said, that if you are somebody who just lives your life and you are excellent, as Air Force has this sound, excellent in all that you do.
Oh my gosh, you got it.
Other people are going to see that and they're like, man, not only do you talk the talk, but you walk the walk too.
Yeah.
And that's what does it for me. But yeah, do bad leaders know they're bad?
Okay.
That's my question.
Do bad leaders know they're bad? My question is super basic. Like, what does this look like outside of a workspace? Who is a leader in your life that is not your boss, that's not in a leadership position? And I don't know if any of you can answer that or not. You don't have to, but that's my question. Bri, what do you got?
I mean, for me, it's just, I've had a mentor who's not part of my leadership. I mean, he is a rank above me, so technically he kind of fits into that leadership, but he gains nothing out of mentoring me or helping me, but he is such a good leader that he just, he saw that I needed help. He saw that I was doing good and he said, hey, let me help you. let me give you some advice. Let me reach out to people and give you some guidance to help get you where you want to go. And I think definitely made a difference in my definition of a leader, especially seeing who my actual leaders are compared to what he's been doing for me. So he doesn't fall quite under my leadership, but he's definitely acting like a really good leader. So
That's awesome. I love it. He's doing it for no gain of his own.
Right. He's just
That's
doing
a
it
really-
because he wants to make me better. He wants to make the Army better. And
And B, you mentioned that a while ago, is like bringing people up. You want your people to be better, whoever you're around, whether you're in this position or not.
Right.
Anybody else have anything else before we close out?
Yeah, I know who she's referencing, and I don't even need to work with him. He's Army, not even in my chain of command, but when I'm around him, I'm like, that dude makes me want to be better.
That's it. A presence. We didn't even talk about that. Man, we could go on for hours, but a presence. Somebody who just has this presence that when you're around them, you're like, I want to do better. I want to be better. I don't want to be like you necessarily, but I want to be better. So I think that's great. That's awesome. We're going to cut it off. I have a last question to just, every time we do this, hopefully we can leave with a challenging question and we can sit on it. And I think it's great. I asked my husband about this. He was in the military for a long time. And he's like, I don't know, how can you lead from behind? And I was like, man, mind blown, super simple, but I don't know, like you got to think through that. So that's my follow-up challenge question. How can I lead from behind today in the coming week until we do this again? All right, guys, love you all. It was great. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.